Yuna woke up in a white room. The ceiling was bright. The air smelled clean like medicine. Machines beeped softly beside her bed. She tried to move and felt sharp pain in her side. Her ribs, they were wrapped in bandages. Her whole body felt heavy and tired. "You are awake." Yuna turned her head slowly. The woman with gray hair was sitting in a chair next to her bed. She looked tired but relieved. "Where am I?" Yuna asked. Her voice was rough and weak. "Military hospital," the woman said. "You have been asleep for 2 days. 3 broken ribs, a cracked collarbone, internal bleeding, and about 50 bruises. The doctor said it was a miracle you could stand at all after Krath hit you." Yuna remembered the impact. The feeling of flying through the air. The pain that exploded through her body. "But I stood," she said quietly. "Yes, you did." The woman smiled. "My name is Captain Sujin. I lead the special operations team that arrived at the academy." "You were watching," Yuna said. It was not a question. "We were watching everything. We saw you walk out of that building alone. We saw you face Vorn and demand his best warrior." Captain Sujin shook her head slowly. "I have been a soldier for 20 years. I have seen brave people do brave things. But I have never seen anything like what you did." Yuna looked at the ceiling. "I was scared," she admitted. "I was so scared I thought I might throw up. But you did not let the fear stop you. My grandfather taught me that fear is natural. Every living thing feels fear. The difference between a coward and a warrior is not the absence of fear. It is what you do despite the fear." Captain Sujin nodded slowly. "Your grandfather sounds like a remarkable man." He was. Yuna closed her eyes for a moment. He spent his entire life preparing for something like this. He knew that humans were not alone in the universe. He knew that someday we would have to fight. He studied everything. Earth martial arts, alien physiology, combat philosophy from a dozen worlds. "And he taught all of this to you?" "I was his only student. He said the knowledge was too dangerous for many people. It had to be protected, passed down carefully." Yuna opened her eyes and looked at Captain Sujin. "He made me promise to use it only when necessary. Only when there was no other choice." "There was no other choice yesterday," Captain Sujin said. "You saved the entire plant." The door opened and Minji rushed in. Her eyes were red from crying, but her face was bright with happiness. "Yuna!" Minji ran to the bed and grabbed Yuna's hand carefully. "You are okay." "I was so worried." Everyone was so worried. Behind her came Taiho and Mr. Park. They stood near the door, not wanting to crowd the small room. "The whole school is talking about you," Taiho said. "The whole city. The whole world, actually. You are famous now." Yuna frowned. "Famous?" Mr. Park stepped forward. Videos of the fight spread across the entire internet within hours. Everyone saw what you did. News stations from every country have been asking for interviews. This was not what Yuna wanted. She did not fight for fame. She fought because it was necessary. Because no one else could. "I do not want to be famous," she said. Captain Sujin stood up. "Unfortunately, you do not have much choice. What you did changed everything. The galactic community is paying attention now. The Kalari Empire is paying attention. Humans went from being ignored to being respected in a single day. Because of you." Minji squeezed Yuna's hand. "Why did you do it? Why did you go out there alone? You could have died." Yuna thought about the question. She thought about her grandfather. She thought about all the students hiding in the shelter. She thought about Warlord Vorn and his cruel smile. "Because someone had to," she said finally. "And I knew I could." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Mr. Park spoke. "In my 30 years of teaching, I have seen many students. Smart students, athletic students, talented students, He looked at Yuna with deep respect. "But I have never met a student like you. You have something that cannot be taught. Something rare and precious." "What is that?" Yuna asked. "The heart of a true warrior." 2 weeks later, Yuna returned to the academy. Her ribs were still healing, but she could walk and move without too much pain. The courtyard where she had fought Krath was being repaired. Workers filled the cracks in the ground. New windows replaced the shattered ones. Life was returning to normal. But when Yuna walked through the gates, everyone stopped. Students turned to look at her. Teachers paused their conversations. Even the workers put down their tools. Then someone started clapping. The sound spread like fire. More hands joined in. Soon the entire courtyard was filled with applause. People cheered. People shouted her name. Yuna felt her face grow warm. She was not used to attention. She was not used to being seen. Minji appeared beside her. "Come on," she said, taking Yuna's arm. "Let us get to class before they start asking for autographs." They walked through the crowd together. People reached out to pat Yuna's shoulder or shake her hand. She tried to smile at everyone. In the classroom, things were almost normal. Students sat in their usual seats. Mr. Park stood at the front with his usual kind smile. But there was one difference. On the wall, someone had put up a poster. It was a picture of Yuna facing Krath. She looked tiny compared to the massive alien. But she did not look afraid. Under the picture were words in bold letters. "This is what humans are made of." Yuna stared at the poster. She did not know what to say. "The students made it," Mr. Park explained. "They voted to put it up. To remind everyone of what happened here. To remind everyone of what one person can do when they refuse to give up." Yuna walked to her usual seat near the window. She sat down slowly, careful not to hurt her healing ribs. She looked out at the sky. Somewhere out there, Warlord Vorn was returning to his empire. He would tell others about Earth, about humans, about the small girl who defeated his champion. The galaxy would learn that humans were not weak. Humans were not easy prey. Humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They had developed countless ways to hurt and heal, to destroy and protect, and now they would bring those skills to the stars. Yuna touched the window glass. Her reflection looked back at her. She looked like an ordinary student, quiet and small. Nothing special, but she knew the truth now. Ordinary humans were not ordinary at all. They were survivors. They were fighters. They had clawed their way to the top of their world through blood and determination. The universe had no idea what it had awakened. Mr. Park cleared his throat. "All right, everyone. Open your books to page 42. We have a lot of material to cover." The students opened their books. Life continued, but everything had changed. Yuna turned from the window and looked at her book. She picked up her pen. She was a student again. Just a quiet girl from Bizen with a ponytail and a simple uniform. But under that simple surface was something ancient and powerful. The spirit of a warrior. The legacy of her grandfather. The strength of all humanity. She smiled to herself and began to write. The classroom fell silent except for the scratch of pens on paper. Outside, the sun shone bright. The future was waiting, and humanity was ready. The courtyard was silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The soldiers stared at their fallen champion. They could not believe what they had seen. Krath lay on the ground like a dead mountain. His massive body was completely still. Only his eyes moved, looking around in panic. He tried to speak, but only strange sounds came from his mouth. Even his tongue had stopped working properly. Yuna stood over him, small and hurt but victorious. Her white shirt was dirty and torn. Blood dripped from cuts on her arms and face. One hand pressed against her side where her ribs were broken. But she stood tall. She had won. Warlord Vorn's face changed many times in a few seconds. First there was shock, then confusion, then anger. Deep, burning anger that made his yellow eyes glow brighter. "What did you do to him?" Vorn demanded. His voice was like thunder. "What trick is this?" Yuna took a slow breath. Speaking was hard. Everything was hard. But she forced her voice to stay calm. "No trick," she said. "Just technique." "Technique?" Vorn stepped forward. His golden armor shook with each heavy step. "You barely touched him." "How can gentle touches defeat a warrior like Krath?" Yuna looked at the fallen champion, then back at Vorn. "The human body has many weak points. Places where nerves meet. Places where energy flows. If you know these points, you do not need strength. You need only precision." Vorn's face twisted. "Human body? Krath is Kaleri. He is not human. All living things have similar structures," Yuna said. She was taught this too. Her grandfather had studied alien physiology for years. Different species, but the same basic design. Nerves, muscles, pressure points. I just needed to find them. In the shelter, people were cheering. They hugged each other. They jumped up and down. The fear that had gripped them was turning into hope. "She won!" Minji shouted. Tears of joy streamed down her face. She actually won. Taiho was laughing and crying at the same time. "I knew she could do it. I knew it." Mr. Park watched the screen with wet eyes. He was a teacher. He had seen thousands of students. But he had never seen anything like this. "Who is that girl?" he whispered. "Who trained her?" On the surface, Vorn was pacing back and forth. His soldiers watched nervously. They had never seen their leader so upset. When Vorn was upset, people died. "This is not possible," Vorn growled. "Krath has fought thousands of battles. He has killed warriors from 100 worlds. He cannot be defeated by a child. By a human child." "But he was," Yuna said simply. "I survived 1 minute. That was the deal. Now you leave Earth." Vorn stopped pacing. He turned to face her. His eyes were cold now, calculating. The anger was still there, but it was controlled. "The deal," he said slowly. "Yes, the deal." He walked toward Yuna. She tensed, ready to move if needed. But he stopped a few meters away. "You are clever, little human," Vorn said. "Very clever. And skilled. I admit, I underestimated you. I underestimated your species." He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "But I am a warlord. I did not conquer 17 star systems by keeping my promises to inferiors." Yuna's heart sank. She had feared this. "You lied," she said. "I made an offer to weak creatures," Vorn replied. "Such offers mean nothing. You won the game, but the game was never real." He raised his hand. His soldiers immediately raised their weapons. "Kill her." The soldiers moved forward. Yuna tried to get into a fighting stance, but her body screamed in protest. The broken ribs sent waves of pain through her. She was too hurt, too tired. She had given everything to beat Krath. She had nothing left. "This is it," she thought. "I did my best. I hope it was enough to show them." But before the soldiers could reach her, something happened. The ground shook. Not from footsteps this time. From something else. Something underground died, then the concrete exploded. From below the surface, figures burst into the courtyard. They moved fast, faster than anyone Yuna had seen. They wore dark uniforms and carried strange weapons. They attacked the Kaleri soldiers with deadly efficiency. In seconds, half of Vorn's soldiers were down. "What is this?" Vorn roared. "Who dares attack the Kaleri?" One of the new arrivals landed near Yuna. It was a woman. She was older, maybe 40, with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She moved like a tiger. Earth Defense Force, the woman said. Special Operations Division. She looked at Yuna and smiled. Good job keeping him busy, kid. We needed time to get into position. Yuna stared at her. You were waiting? You planned this? We detected their ship entering our solar system 3 days ago. We knew they were coming. We just needed them on the ground, in the open. The woman helped Yuna stand properly. We also knew someone would answer the challenge. We hoped it would buy us enough time to surround them. More soldiers appeared from everywhere. From underground. From buildings. From hidden positions. The Kalari were completely surrounded. Their numbers did not matter anymore. Vaughn looked around at the trap he had walked into. His face changed again. For the first time, there was something like respect in his eyes. You planned this, he said to the woman. All of it. Not all of it, the woman replied. We did not plan for a teenage girl to challenge your champion. That was a surprise. A good surprise. Vaughn looked at Yuna. She was barely standing. Her body was broken and bleeding, but her eyes still burned with that strange fire. Who are you? Vaughn asked her. Who trained you to fight like that? Yuna thought of her grandfather. She thought of the long years of training. The pain, the discipline, the endless practice. My grandfather, she said. He was a martial arts master. He studied fighting styles from all over the world. And when Earth joined the galactic community, he started studying alien combat too. He dedicated his life to understanding how living things fight. And he passed this knowledge to you? He died 2 years ago, Yuna said quietly. Before he died, he taught me everything he knew. He said that one day, humans would face a great challenge. He wanted me to be ready. Vaughn was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Your grandfather was wise, he said, and you honored his teaching today. He looked at the Earth soldiers surrounding him. I see that I was wrong about humans. You are not weak. You are not cowards. You are fighters. Yes, the woman with gray hair said. We are, and you are going to leave our planet now. Go back to your empire and tell them what you saw today. Tell them that Earth is not easy prey. Vaughn considered his options. He still had soldiers. He still had his ship. He could fight. But the cost would be high. Very high. Very well, he said finally. I will leave. For now, he looked at Yuna one more time. But I will remember you, little human. I will remember this day. He turned and walked back toward his ship. His remaining soldiers followed. They carried the still paralyzed Krath with them as the ship lifted into the sky. The Earth soldiers lowered their weapons. The danger was over. For now, Yuna felt her legs give out. The woman caught her before she fell. Medical team. The woman shouted. I need a medical team here now. People rushed forward. Voices spoke over each other. Hands touched Yuna gently, checking her injuries, but Yuna barely noticed. She was looking at the sky, watching the black ship disappear into the clouds. I did it, grandfather, she whispered. I was ready. Then everything went dark. The courtyard became very quiet. Even the birds had flown away. The wind had stopped. It felt like the whole world was holding its breath. Krath stood like a gray mountain in front of Yuna. His 4 massive arms hung at his sides. His red eyes stared down at her with hunger. He was already imagining how he would destroy her. Yuna looked up at him without blinking. Her heart was beating fast, but she did not let it show on her face. Her grandfather had taught her this. Never show fear. Fear feeds the enemy. Stay calm. Stay focused. Warlord Vaughn walked to the edge of the fighting area. He raised one hand high in the air. The rules are simple, he announced. His voice carried across the whole academy. If the human survives for 1 minute, Earth goes free. If she falls, Earth belongs to the Kaleri Empire. He paused and smiled cruelly. The fight begins when I drop my hand. In the underground shelter, people were pressed against each other, watching the screen. Minji could not look away, even though she wanted to. Tears rolled down her face. 1 minute, Mr. Park said quietly. She just needs to survive 1 minute. She cannot survive 1 second against that monster, someone said. Look at the size of him. Taiho, a boy from Yuna's class, pushed through the crowd. He was tall and athletic. He had always been kind to Yuna, even when others ignored her. His hands were shaking with anger. This is wrong, Taiho said. We should be up there. We should be helping her. There is nothing we can do, Mr. Park said sadly. If we interfere, they will kill us all. So we just watch her die? Taiho's voice cracked. We just stand here and do nothing? Nobody had an answer. On the surface, Yuna slowly removed her school jacket. She folded it neatly and placed it on the ground beside her. Underneath, she wore a simple white shirt. Krath laughed at this. Taking off your jacket will not help you, little thing. Nothing will help you. Yuna ignored him. She rolled up her sleeves. Then she took off her shoes. She placed them next to her jacket. Her feet were bare on the cold concrete. Vorn watched with curiosity. What is she doing? Yuna took a deep breath and closed her eyes. For a moment, she was somewhere else. She was back home in her grandfather's training room. She could smell the old wood and the incense. She could hear his voice. Remember, Yuna, her grandfather had said, the body is nothing without the mind. The mind is nothing without the spirit. When all three become one, you become unstoppable. She opened her eyes. They were different now, sharper, harder. The quiet student was gone. The warrior had arrived. She shifted her stance. Her feet spread apart. Her knees bent slightly. Her hands came up, open and relaxed. It looked simple, almost lazy. But there was something about the way she moved. Something smooth and dangerous. Krath noticed the change. His smile faded a little. Just for a moment, Vorn's hand was still raised. Are both fighters ready? Krath cracked his foreknuckles. The sound was like small explosions. I have been ready. Let me crush this insect. Yuna nodded once. She did not speak. Vorn dropped his hand. Begin. Krath moved immediately. For something so big, he was fast. Very fast. His huge arms swung toward Yuna like a falling tree. The air screamed as it moved. But Yuna was not there anymore. She had slipped to the side at the last moment. The arm passed so close that it moved her hair. But it did not touch her. Krath stumbled forward, confused. He turned quickly and swung another arm. Then another. And another. All 4 arms attacked from different directions at the same time. Yuna moved like water. She flowed between the attacks. She bent under one arm. She spun away from another. She stepped back from the third. She ducked under the fourth. Every movement was small and efficient. She wasted nothing. The crowd in the shelter could not believe what they were seeing. How is she doing that? Someone gasped. She is dodging him, Mr. Park said. His eyes were wide. She is actually dodging him. Minji had stopped crying. Her mouth was open in shock. Yuna. Taiho pressed closer to the screen. Come on, he whispered. Come on, Yuna. Krath was getting angry. His attacks became faster and wilder. He used all 4 arms in constant motion. His fists created winds that knocked over soldiers standing nearby. The ground cracked and broke wherever he hit, but he could not touch her. Yuna moved through the storm of attacks like a ghost. She seemed to know where each fist would go before it got there. She did not run away. She stayed close to him, always just out of reach. "Stand still," Krath roared. "Fight me properly. Stop running." Yuna said nothing. She kept moving. 30 seconds had passed. Vaughn was no longer smiling. He watched the fight with growing disbelief. He had seen Krath kill hundreds of opponents. Strong opponents. Trained warriors from across the galaxy. None of them had lasted this long. "What is this?" Vaughn muttered. "What is this human doing?" Krath changed his approach. He stopped swinging wildly. He focused. He tracked Yuna's movements with his small red eyes. He waited for the right moment. Then he saw it. A pattern. Yuna always moved to the left after dodging a right attack. It was a small habit, almost invisible. But Krath saw it. He swung his right arms together. Yuna moved left, just as he expected. His left arms were waiting. One massive fist caught Yuna in the side. The impact was terrible. She flew through the air like a doll. She crashed into the ground and rolled several times before stopping. The shelter erupted in screams. "No!" Minji screamed. "Yuna! No!" Taiho punched a wall. "Get up! Yuna, get up!" Krath walked toward her fallen body. He was breathing hard but smiling again. "Finally. I knew I would hit you eventually. Now stay down and die quietly." Yuna lay still on the ground. Her body was twisted at a bad angle. Blood trickled from her mouth. She was not moving. 40 seconds had passed. Vaughn laughed. "I told you, little human. Bravery without strength is just stupidity. You did better than I expected. But in the end, you are just a weak human. You never had a chance." Krath raised his foot. It was like a stone pillar. He was going to crush her completely. Then Yuna moved. She rolled to the side just as the foot came down. The ground where she had been lying exploded into pieces. She kept rolling and then pushed herself up to one knee. Her side was badly hurt. She could feel broken ribs. Every breath was painful. But she was still alive. She was still fighting. Krath stared at her in disbelief. How are you still moving?" Yuna wiped the blood from her mouth. She slowly stood up. Her legs were shaking, but her eyes were still sharp, still focused. "Humans," she said quietly, "are very hard to kill." She raised her hands again. The stance was the same as before. Perfect and ready. Krath roared in anger. He charged at her with all his power. His forearms swung in a deadly pattern. Faster than before. Angrier than before. But Yuna was ready. She did not dodge this time. She moved into the attack. 50 seconds. Her small hand shot forward. It hit a spot on Krath's lower arm. It was a gentle touch, nothing more. But Krath's whole arm went limp. It dropped to his side. Useless dot. Before Krath could understand what happened, Yuna struck again. Another touch to another arm. Another arm went dead. "What?" Krath tried to say. Yuna moved around him like a dancer. Touch, touch, touch. Each contact was soft and precise. And after each touch, another part of Krath's body stopped working. His legs gave out. He fell to his knees. Then he fell forward onto his face. His whole body was paralyzed. He could not move anything except his eyes. He stared up at Yuna with fear. Real fear. Yuna stood over him. She was breathing hard. Her body was hurting. But she was standing. And he was not. 60 seconds. The minute was over. Vaughn looked at the scene with his mouth open. His champion, his undefeated monster, was lying on the ground, defeated by a small human girl. Yuna turned to face Vaughn. Blood was still on her face. Her body was hurt, but her eyes burned with something fierce and unbreakable. "I survived," she said. "Now leave our planet." The underground shelter was full of students and teachers. The lights were bright, but the mood was dark. People sat on the floor. They held each other. Some were crying. Some were praying. Some just stared at nothing. Minji was looking for Yuna. She pushed through the crowd. She called her name again and again. But Yuna was nowhere to be found. "Has anyone seen Yuna?" Minji asked. Nobody answered. Everyone was too scared to think about others. Above ground, Warlord Vorn was growing impatient. He walked back and forth in the courtyard. His soldiers stood like statues behind him. They did not move. They did not speak. "Humans are cowards," Vorn said to himself. "They hide like rats. They run like insects." He spat on the ground. "Disgusting creatures." One of his soldiers stepped forward. "My lord, should we begin the attack? We can crush them easily." Vorn raised his hand. "Not yet. I gave them a chance. I want to enjoy this. I want to see them try. I want to watch them fail." At that moment, the main door of the academy opened. Everyone turned to look. A small figure walked out. It was Yuna. She walked slowly and calmly toward the courtyard. Her school uniform was neat and clean. Her hair was still in its simple ponytail. Her face showed no fear. Vorn watched her approach. At first, he looked confused. Then he started to laugh. The sound was loud and cruel. His soldiers joined in. The courtyard filled with their ugly laughter. "Is this your champion?" Vorn said between laughs. "A little girl? A child?" He laughed even harder. "Oh, this is too good. This is too funny." Yuna stopped about 10 meters away from him. She stood straight and looked up at his face. She had to bend her neck back because he was so tall. "I heard your challenge," Yuna said. Her voice was clear and steady. "I am here to answer it." Vorn's laughter slowly stopped. He leaned down to look at her more closely. His yellow eyes studied her face. He was looking for fear. He was looking for doubt. He found nothing. "Little girl," he said, "do you understand what you are doing? This is not a game. This is combat. Real combat. You will get hurt. You might die." Yuna did not blink. "I understand. Where are your adults? Where are your leaders? Why do they send a child?" "Nobody sent me," Yuna said. "I came on my own." This made Vorn pause. He stood back up to his full height. He looked at his soldiers. They seemed confused too. This was not what they expected. In the shelter below, someone had found a way to watch. A security camera was still working. The image appeared on a screen in the corner. People gathered around it. Minji pushed to the front. She saw Yuna on the screen. Her heart nearly stopped. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." "What is she doing?" Mr. Park was there too. His face was pale. "We have to stop her. Someone has to stop her." But nobody moved. The soldiers outside would kill anyone who tried to interfere. All they could do was watch. On the screen, Vorn was speaking again. "You are brave, little human. I will give you that. But bravery is not enough. Bravery without strength is just stupidity." He turned to his soldiers. "Bring forth a warrior. Someone to teach this child a lesson." A soldier stepped forward. He was big, but not the biggest. He removed his helmet. His face was covered with scars. He smiled at Yuna. It was not a nice smile. Yuna looked at the soldier. Then she looked at Vorn. She shook her head slowly. "No," she said. Vorn's eyes narrowed. "No? What do you mean, no?" "Not him," Yuna said. She pointed at the soldier. "He is not good enough." The courtyard went silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. Nobody could believe what they had heard. The soldier with the scars looked angry. "Little girl, I have killed hundreds in battle." I do not want you," Una said. She cut him off like he was nothing. She turned back to Vorn. "You said you wanted to test humans. You said you wanted to see what we are made of. Then give me your best. Give me your strongest warrior. Give me someone worth fighting." Vorn stared at her for a long moment. His yellow eyes burned brighter. His hands became fists. For a second, it looked like he might kill her himself. Then he started to laugh again. But this time, the laugh was different. It was not mocking. It was almost respectful. "You have fire, little human," he said. "I like fire. It makes the breaking more satisfying." He turned to his soldiers. "She wants our best? Fine. Bring out Krath." The soldiers looked at each other. Some of them actually seemed worried. They whispered to each other in their alien language. One soldier spoke up. "My lord, Krath is too much for a human child. It would not be a fair fight." "She asked for it," Vorn said. "She wanted our best. She will get our best." He smiled at Una. "You should have accepted the first offer, little girl. Krath has never lost a battle. He has never even been hurt. He is a monster among monsters." Una said nothing. She just stood there, waiting. In the shelter, people were panicking. Minji was crying. Mr. Park was trying to contact someone, anyone who could help. But all communication with the outside world was blocked. "She is going to die," someone said. "That poor girl is going to die. Why did she do this?" Another voice asked. "Why did she volunteer?" Nobody had answers. Nobody understood. On the surface, the soldiers were bringing something from the ship. They pushed a large metal container on wheels. It was black and covered with warning symbols. Strange sounds came from inside. Deep growls and heavy breathing. Vorn walked over to the container. He put his hand on the surface. The metal was shaking from whatever was inside. "Krath," Vorn said loudly. "Wake up. We have a challenger for you." The growling inside stopped. Then there was silence. Then a loud boom as something hit the container from inside. Then another boom. And another. The container began to shake violently. The metal started to bend. The soldiers backed away. Even Vorn stepped back a little. The front of the container exploded outward, and Krath stepped out. He was huge. Even bigger than Vorn. His body was thick with muscle. His skin was gray and rough, like stone. He had 4 arms, and each arm was as big as Una's whole body. His face was flat and brutal, with small red eyes and a wide mouth full of broken teeth. He wore no armor. He needed no armor. His skin was his armor. His body was a weapon. Krath looked around slowly. He saw the soldiers. He saw Vorn. Then he saw Una. He made a sound deep in his chest. It was almost like a laugh, but worse. It was the sound a predator makes when it sees easy prey. "That?" Krath said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "That is my opponent? That tiny thing?" "She asked for our best," Vorn said. "She asked for you." Krath walked toward Una. Each step cracked the ground beneath him. He stopped just a few meters away. He towered over her like a mountain over a flower. Una looked up at him. She had to bend her neck back very far. He was so tall that she could barely see his face. "Little thing," Krath said, "I will crush you like an insect. I will break every bone in your body. I will make you scream until you have no voice left. Then I will finish you slowly." Una listened to every word. When Krath was done speaking, she nodded slowly. "Are you done talking?" she asked. Krath's red eyes went wide. Then he roared. The sound was so loud that windows in the academy shattered. Students in the shelter covered their ears. The ground itself seemed to shake. Yuna did not move. She did not cover her ears. She just waited for the roar to end. When it did, she spoke again. Her voice was calm and quiet, but somehow everyone could hear it clearly. I am ready when you are. The morning started like any other at the Galactic Academy. Students walked through the wide hallways. They talked about homework and weekend plans. The sun came through the tall windows and made warm squares of light on the floor. Yuna sat in her usual seat near the window. She was a small girl with black hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She came from Busan, a coastal city in Korea. She was quiet and did not talk much. Most students did not notice her. She liked it that way. Her friend Minji sat next to her. Minji was the opposite of Yuna. She was loud and always smiling. She liked to talk about everything and everyone. Did you hear about the new student from Mars Colony? Minji asked. She leaned closer to Yuna. They say he has blue skin. Yuna shook her head. She was looking out the window at the sky. Something felt strange today. She could not explain it. The air felt heavy. The birds were not singing. Their teacher, Mr. Park, walked into the classroom. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been teaching for 30 years. He loved his job and he loved his students. Good morning, everyone, he said. Please open your books to page 42. The students opened their books. But before Mr. Park could say another word, the lights went out. The whole building became dark. Students gasped and looked around. Then the ground shook. It was not a strong shake. It was more like a giant was walking somewhere nearby. Each step made the floor tremble. Books fell from desks. Water bottles rolled onto the ground. Yuna stood up slowly. She walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Her eyes went wide. A massive ship was coming down from the clouds. It was black and covered with sharp edges. It looked like a weapon. It looked like death itself had taken the form of metal. Everyone stay calm, Mr. Park said. But his voice was shaking. Move away from the windows. The students did not move. They were frozen with fear. They had seen ships before. Earth had joined the Galactic Council 10 years ago. Alien visitors were not rare anymore. But this ship was different. This ship was not here for friendship. The ship landed in the Academy courtyard. The ground cracked under its weight. Dust and smoke filled the air. When it cleared, a door opened on the side of the ship. Soldiers walked out first. They were tall and covered in black armor. They had 4 arms each. Their helmets hid their faces. They moved in perfect formation, like a machine with many parts. Then he came out. Warlord Vorn of the Kalari Empire. He was massive. He stood 3 meters tall. His skin was dark purple, like a bruise that covered his whole body. He had no hair. His eyes were yellow and burned like fire. As a verdig fire, he wore golden armor that shined in the sunlight. A long red cape hung from his shoulders. He walked forward slowly. Each step he took made the ground shake again. The soldiers moved aside to let him pass. He stopped in the middle of the courtyard and looked around. Humans, he said. His voice was deep and loud. It echoed off the buildings. I am Vorn, Warlord of the Kalari Empire, Conqueror of 17 star systems, Destroyer of the Pale Moon. Students from every classroom pressed against the windows. Teachers tried to pull them back, but everyone wanted to see. Everyone wanted to know why he was here. Yuna watched in silence. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands were tight fists at her sides. I have come to your little planet with a simple message, Vorn continued. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Kalari Empire will expand. Earth is in our path. You will submit to our rule. You will become part of our empire. You will serve us." A voice came from somewhere. It was the academy principal speaking through the outdoor speakers. "This is protected space. Earth is a member of the Galactic Council. You cannot." Vorn raised his hand. One of his soldiers fired a weapon at the speaker. It exploded in a shower of sparks. The principal's voice died. "The Galactic Council is weak," Vorn said. "They will not help you. They are afraid of us. Everyone is afraid of us." He laughed. It was an ugly sound. "But I am not without mercy. I will give you a chance." He turned and looked at the main building. He seemed to be looking directly at Yuna's classroom. She did not look away. "I want to see what humans are made of," Vorn said. "I have heard stories. They say humans are fighters. They say humans are strong. I want to test this." He raised his voice even louder. "I challenge your academy to combat. One human against one of my warriors. If your human can survive for 1 minute, I will leave this planet in peace. If not, Earth belongs to the Kalari Empire." The students started to panic. Some screamed. Some cried. Teachers shouted for order. The whole academy fell into chaos. But in the classroom near the window, Yuna remained still. She watched Vorn with careful eyes. She studied the way he stood. She noticed how his soldiers moved. She counted their weapons. Minji grabbed Yuna's arm. Tears were falling down her cheeks. "What do we do? What do we do?" Yuna did not answer. She was thinking. Mr. Park was trying to calm the students. "Everyone, please sit down. The authorities will handle this. We need to stay calm and wait." But Yuna knew the truth. She had seen the Kalari before. When she was a child, her grandfather had told her stories. The Kalari did not make fair challenges. They did not show mercy. They only understood one thing. Strength. She looked at her small hands. They looked weak. They looked like the hands of a normal teenage girl. But Yuna knew what those hands could do. She knew what was hidden inside her quiet body. Her grandfather had taught her well. The classroom door burst open. Academy security guards rushed in. "Everyone needs to evacuate to the underground shelter, now." Students jumped from their seats and ran toward the door. They pushed and shoved each other. Fear made them forget their manners. Yuna did not move. "Yuna, come on," Minji shouted. She was being pushed toward the door by the crowd. "We have to go." Yuna looked at her friend. She gave a small smile. "Go ahead. I will come soon." Minji wanted to argue, but the crowd pulled her away. Soon, Yuna was alone in the empty classroom. She walked back to the window. She looked down at Warlord Vorn. He was still standing in the courtyard. He was waiting. He looked bored, like a cat playing with a mouse. Yuna took a deep breath. She closed her eyes. She remembered her grandfather's words. She remembered the training. She remembered the pain and the sweat and the tears. She remembered why she had trained so hard. When she opened her eyes, they were different. They were not the eyes of a quiet student. They were the eyes of a warrior. She turned and walked toward the door. Her steps were silent. Her breathing was calm. Her heart was steady. The challenge had been issued, and Yuna had already decided that she would answer it.